What's good, everybody? This is Dion from Smo's Monochrome Arts. My expression of the martial art to where I put a spin on all the martial arts and put a spin into my expression and utilize all the martial arts to where I could use it for practical situations and for self-defense. And I'm making this video today because I've been thinking this past week. And this thought has been on my mind for quite a while now. And, I watch a lot of UFC, and it boggles my mind, man, to where how many fighters, and I always think to myself, how many fighters, of course, John Jones, John Boner Jones, he's been cracked for PEDs and steroid use, who knows how many times in his career. And, I often wonder, with all these UFC fighters taking PEDs and steroids use, how many fighters, I know the Diaz, and this is my honest opinion, I know for a fact that Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz are definitely all natural fighters. Like, that's just what I believe. I was having a discussion with a friend, and he goes, we're having this discussion about all these UFC fighters, being on PEDs and taking steroids, well, he's like, Dion, that begs the question, do you think it was possible that Bruce Lee happened to be on steroids? And the question boggled my mind, and the question has been on my mind for weeks, for this past week. I can't stop thinking about it, and I thought about it all week from an unbiased state of mind, and you got arguably, in my opinion, the best martial artist, the father of martial arts, the father of self-defense, the best martial artist of our time, and you see with Bruce was 50 years ahead of his time. He was practicing mixed martial arts before the UFC, before MMA. And, I had to think from an unbiased, the martial artist who was basically Clark Kent in human form, the real Superman of the martial arts, his speed was lightning quick. This man could, in the weight room, could lift 3 times his body weight. Ah! This man could hit a paper. This man was so quick and powerful, he could hit a paper and tear the paper apart. This is the man who sparred every martial artist during his time, every karate practitioner, whooped them all. Sparred all these martial artists, beat them all. Jim Kelly, one of the best karate practitioners out there, said Bruce Lee was made out of steel. Bruce Lee was literally, this came from him, a karate practitioner. He said Bruce was made out of steel. We know how tough karate practitioners are. So I had to think for a minute. I'm like, is it possible that Bruce Lee took steroids during his time? Because this man was 50 years ahead of everyone, better than any martial artist, beat every martial artist during his time. And I had to think for a minute, could it really be possible that Bruce Lee took steroids? Well, wait a minute, Dion. Steroids wasn't, there were no one taking steroids. Steroids wasn't even invented or discovered during that time. That's where you're wrong. Steroids were discovered and have been taken since the 1960s and 1930s. The Russians were taking synthetic testosterone to help them win in the Olympics during that time. In fact, the Russians helped discover steroids. The Russians were taking steroids to help them win the Olympics during that time, through the 1930s going into the 1960s. And of course, you got in the 70s and 80s when the bodybuilding era came, you got, of course, Arnold has already been admitted to taking steroids. So, I looked into all that. I'm like, steroids have been around for a while, and could it have been possible that Bruce might have taken something to help him get his physique, his strength, something to help him get on all levels of his training. And from an unbiased view, I had to really look at both sides and think it could be possible, but my final answer to that is no. Ultimately, I don't think Bruce ever took any steroids during his time. Well, wait a minute, DeAndre. Have you ever looked at his physique, how ripped he was? He was more ripped than any martial artist that ever lived, any karate. Every other karate practitioner were fat as hell. Bruce was the only one who had that. It's like, yeah, I understand. I get it. We got to understand something. It's possible to get that rip naturally without taking any steroid. You know what I mean? Example, Bruce Lee went down to 135, 125, 125 pounds. That's when he was at his lightest. That's whenever he was, when he made Enter the Dragon. That's when he was at his rippest. You know what I mean? Before that, when he fought Jack Wangman, he was like 160, 165, and he was very puffed up, bloated. So before that, he was pretty, skinny, fat, chubby, and and you can make the case, well, when he had that back injury in 1970, it's kind of ironic, he came back after that back injury and made Enter the Dragon. He's ripped as fuck, he's strong, that could be steroid, yes, because he was taking steroids, and I say no. Because I believe Bruce was against any kind of. Bruce was a true martial artist, and he was against all that. Bruce believed, because that would go against everything Bruce believed in. Taking some synthetic, product to make yourself become a better martial artist. Is it possible? Yes, it could have. Bruce was in Hollywood during that time. You see Hollywood today, you got all these actors, they're taking steroids to get their physiques, but, I believe Bruce, you got to look at Bruce's training. Bruce ate high protein, low carb every single day. Bruce's training was, Bruce did cardio, he ran 5 miles a day, weightlifted every day, I'd say Bruce was taking something if he was like 175, 180, a lean rip. But Bruce, at his leanest when he was the rippest, he was 125, 130, 135, around there. I don't think Bruce was taking any kind of steroids, even though they were around. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't believe he was, and I believe it would go against everything he believed in if he was. So that's just my take on it. He had that back injury that he came from, but I don't think he was taking any PEDs or performance enhancing drugs. I think Bruce was just naturally 1/1000th of a person, 1 person out of a billion. That's how special Bruce was. Scratch that, 1 out of a trillion. That's how talented and special Bruce was. I don't believe he needed a synthetic drug to become that. You got all these guys here in the UFC, all these guys cheating, taking all these PEDs, that's cool. But I don't think Bruce was doing that. So my question to that is, I don't think Bruce was taking any kind of steroid or nothing like that. Bruce was just a special breed, the father of martial arts, and he didn't need that. You look at his diet, Bruce was disciplined among any martial artist. You ask Jim Kelly, this guy was man of steel. Oh, well, Bruce Lee never had a real fight. Well, Bruce Lee sparred more than any martial artist. He beat anybody he sparred. He beat them all. Any karate, taekwondo, anything, he beat them all. So that's my take on it, and it's been a topic that's really been bothering me the whole week, and I got to the conclusion. I'm like, wow, it's possible, but I don't believe it. I don't think it's true. So that's my take on it, and follow Smoke's Modern Arts, and have a great night.